Now it's time to start with the JavaScript part of the project, which is time and date widget application. So for that we need to use the script.js file. So inside of the script.js file we need to fetch these particular selectors. So here we are not going to use the getElementById method, because inside of the index.html you can see we have actually specified here a classes. So this is a class, this is also a class. So we need to actually provide the classes. We need to actually select this data container class, also this hour, minutes and seconds. So coming back to the script.js, so here at the top I will be using here a let. Now these all values are actually going to updated, which is hours, minutes and seconds. So that is the reason I am actually here using a let. And also we need to use the date container. So here I am just using here a let. Okay, so date container is equal to, then we need to use the document because we want to fetch it from the document dot query selector. So here instead of that we need to provide the query selector. So the query selector that we want to provide is actually a date container. So this one we need to copy it and provide it here. Alright, then I'm going to duplicate it into 3 more times, and this is for the hours container, and this is for the minutes container, and this is for the seconds container. Here we need to provide the C. So now, and then we need to provide the corresponding selector name, which is the first is the hours. Here we also need to specify the dot because it is a class selector. So if we are using the query selector, then we need to provide here a specification whether which selector we are selecting. If we are selecting ID selector, then we need to provide the hash character. If we are selecting a class selector, then we need to provide here a dot. In case of the query selector function, if we are selecting the HTML element inside the JavaScript by using the query selector, then I will be here using the minutes, and after that inside of this one we will be using here seconds. Okay, so we are now successfully initialized all the UI elements of the HTML inside the JavaScript with these variables. And after that we need to create here 2 arrays, because for the weekdays we need to create here an array. So it's like week days, and then we need to actually initialize this array with the values. Okay, this is necessary. And also for the month name we need to create the month name array. Now why I am creating this array? Because according to the values of the get day, get date and get month, because these are the functions, if you explore on the JavaScript under the documentation of the date object, they are going to return the integer value. So if we use a get day function, so the current date, first we need to get the current date. On that current date we have another function which is get day, which is going to give us a integer value. For Sunday it is actually 0. Right now you can see if I actually here, this is actually Monday, so the value of that particular Monday is actually 1 when we use the .getDay function. I will be showing you once we complete the code. So first I will be here adding the values inside this particular one, weekdays, which is actually the first weekday is our Sunday. Then to specify our comma, and then I am going to duplicate into many times. Right, and here I will be using the Monday. Now here I will be using the Tuesday. So I'm going to complete this quickly. Then I'm going to fast forward this particular process because this is a repeated task. And then we need to remove this particular last one and also the comma of the last element of the array. So it is actually a Saturday, like Saturday. Okay, so these are the 7 days. So it is actually stored at the index 0, index 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Similarly, we need to define the month names. So here first is the January. Then I need to specify the comma. Then I'm again going to continue the video once I enter all the month names. Okay, so I have added all the month names, which is Jan, Feb, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. So I have added all the month names. So now, once we get the month name, it's time to actually create a method, which is actually a helper method, which is a method which actually used to format the time. So for that, we need to create here a function, and then we need to here use it as format time. Now this function is actually going to accept a parameter of time. You can name this parameter as whatever you want, but we're actually going to pass this function when we want to format the time in a 25-hour format. Okay, so we will be using this function. Inside of this function, we need to return, and I will be here returning the time. If it is smaller than 10, then we want to actually proceed the time with 0, and if it is not, then we want to add it, and also we need to add the time that we have passed here, like this time. Now what it actually means, if the time is smaller than 0, suppose if I just comment up here, now this is 23 and 45. Now here you can see the seconds is actually 12. It's again like this particular one, you can see here, this is actually going to display a single 0, and like this one, if we didn't use this format time, and this will become like this. So that is the reason, if it is smaller than 0, then it's going to add a 0 with that particular time. So it is will become, so this will become like 0 0. Okay, if I enter here arrow, this will become 0 0, then 45, and also 10. In case of the seconds, it is also going to add a 0. You can say that whenever we get a single digit, so it is going to add a 0. If it is already a 2 digit, so this condition is not going to execute this particular, it is going to actually execute this particular time, because the time already has the 2 digit value. Alright, so that is what this particular function does. Now the next function that we want to use is actually function which is like update clock. So I'm going to name this function as update clock. This function is actually responsible for the updation of the values. So this is the version of the application that we want to develop. This is the final version. So here, coming back to the update clock inside the script.js. So the first thing is we need to create the object which is today. Inside of the today, we need to create the object of the new date. So it is like date. Alright. And after that, we need to create the variable which is date. Now new date, if I just here actually print it by using the console.log, and if I print the value of the today, enter it, and inside this let date, just comment out this particular line of the code here. Now we are going to call this update clock function outside of it, otherwise there is nothing will be visible inside the console. So if I press here F12 key under the web browser, so you can see now the console is actually, now here you can see it's actually printed the current date, which is Monday, July 31, and it also actually provides us a time that we want. If I just, alright, and you can say 0:35:37 Monday 31 July, and we get the same data here inside the console, but we want to display that data inside this particular UI element of the HTML. So that thing we are going to do in this particular function by using this day variable, which is actually a today variable. It has all the values with this particular date object of the JavaScript. Now I'm going to close this console window because I show you the basic idea of the application upcoming code. Inside of the let date, and also I'm going to decrease the size of this particular web browser window. Alright, and coming back to the script.js, so let date is equal to today dot get. So here we will be adding by using the get date function. So to get the date, it is easy. We just simply press the Control save. So now we get the date, but we want to actually also need a day name and also the month name. So for that we need to use these arrays, but before that I also want to check whether we are successfully able to get the date or not. So I'm using here a console log statement. Instead of that, I will be using the date, and I'm just going to comment out this particular console statement, control save it, and if I come back to the browser, make sure okay, so this is the final version, this is the new version of the application that we actually built in this entire module. If I press the F12 key, and you can see inside the console we are getting the 31 value. So we are successfully able to get the date by using this today variable. And after that we need to create the another variable of the let, which is actually used for the day and the months. So here I will be using the day is equal to like weekdays, which is our array name, that is at the top we have specified the weekdays. Inside the array brackets I need to use the today object, which is this particular object today, because inside of that we have the initialization of the new date object. So we need to initialize the today variable, not an object, it is actually today variable. So we need to use here today dot get day. So this will be the today dot get day function. Alright, and similarly we need to get the month. So for that I am creating the month variable. Then for the month we need to here use the month names array, that is this one, month names. Instead of that I will be using here a today dot get month. So this will be the function used to get the month name. So these get day and get month actually return us a integer value. Right now if we see the final version of the application, we have Monday. So this Monday has a value 1 and 0 is a value for the Sunday. Alright, so according to that particular integer values we have the array initializations. So after that we are actually going to use here to format the time, means we need to actually here get the time. So for that we need to create the variable which is for the hours, that hours is equal to format time. Okay, so this is a format function. Inside of that we need to pass the time. So we have the initialization of the today, then we are going to use here a get hours. Alright, so this function will be used. And for the month name also guys, the July is a month here right now. So the 0 is for the January, and if you just continue with the indexing like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So July month is actually a 6 in terms of the JavaScript date object. So you can check it by just simply, I think you can print it by using the console, not confirm, like console.log. If we just print the date as well, so we are going to print here a day, comma, and then we are going to here print the month. Right now it is going to give us like July and the Monday. Alright, but if we use this function notation, I think then maybe we can get the values. So if I use console.log, I am just checking it here. So like today dot get day. So this is the function value first, comma, and then I will be here using the today dot get month, then the function value. Let's see whether these two console statements are giving the value. So I'm going to comment out this particular console statement for the date, control save it, coming back to the other version of the application, that is this one. And if I press the F12 key here, then inside of that you can see we are getting the values 1 and 6. Now we are getting Monday and July, that is because we have used this one. Already we are getting the data with the use of the arrays, which is weekdays and month names. So Monday and July, and for these particular, these are the integer values, because these functions which is get day and get month will returns the integer value. So that is the reason we have used here a string array, so that according to the values written by the functions we can create our logic. Okay, so I showed you also the working of these particular code. Now it's time to actually complete the time code. So here we need to get the minutes. So it is going to format the minutes like format time. We are going to pass it here today dot get minutes. Alright, we need to call the get minutes function completely. Okay, and then we need to actually use here a get let seconds. Okay, so it is like format time again. We need to call this function. Inside of that again we need to use the get like today dot get and this is actually a seconds. Okay, so then to terminate them. Again, you can check these values by just simply using these console statements. So I'm going to comment out this console statement. This is totally for the testing purpose. Now we have successfully get all these 6 values. Now it's time to set these values inside the UI. So to set it, we need to update the data container inner HTML. Remember, we have fetched the IDs of these 3 elements and also the data container. So we need to update the inner HTML of the data container. So which is actually a date container, not a data container. It's actually a date container, or you can even say that the data container, because inside of that we are going to actually display the data. So we are here using the date container dot inner HTML, and after that we are going to here use the template string, which is a key present at the top of your tab key. So make sure, because many students ask me in my previous courses what is template string. So make sure you check the template string basic videos, because it is just a different character. Alright, so this is a template string character which is actually present at the top of your tab key. So once you press that key, you will get this template literals character, and after that we need to here use the dollar symbol, then the curly brackets. So first we want to display the value of the day. Okay, and then we need to close the paragraph element, that is this one, and then we need to create here another paragraph element. Okay, and after that we need to use the span tag. This is for the span element, and instead of that we need to use the dollar symbol, and then we need to pass here a date, which is this one. We have used the day, then date. Okay, and after that we need to close the span tag, that is this one, span tag, and also we need to close the paragraph tag. Then we need to open the another paragraph tag. So I'm going to here use the view and word wrap, so that the code will remain in the same window. Okay, then we need to here use the another dollar symbol, curly brackets, and then we need to pass here a month, and after that we need to close the paragraph tag, which is here at the, you can see it. Okay, so now our template literal gets completed, means our template string gets completed. Control save it. Now we can see here we are finally able to get our Monday and this date and also the month name, means the day, date and month name. We are successfully able to get these 3 values. If I just comment out this, then you can see it. Right now we get the Sunday. If I uncomment it and control save it, we get these values. Okay, this is our version of the application that is actually running on this port 127. And after that we need to set these values to this particular container, which is hours container and minutes container and this seconds container. So we are going to do it here. So the hours container, we actually want to update its text content. So text content is actually equals to, we are actually here using the hours variable value. Then we need to actually plus it with the use of this colon, because this colon will not become inside the variable initialization. We need to actually craft it with the string. Okay, then I'm going to duplicate into 2 more time. Here I will be using the minutes container, and this will be for the seconds container. Actually I have spelled it wrong at the top. Seconds container, and here we need to update it also, seconds container, and then we need to update the value, which is minutes, and this is for the seconds. I control save it. Now you can see our timer widget is completed. It is right now 12:55 AM, and you can see we have our seconds. If I refresh it, then you can see the timer is updating. Now here is a problem, because right now we need to actually here use the set interval method, because every time we refresh it, then we are actually able to see the updated code. So we need to actually call this update call method by using this set interval, so that every 100 milliseconds we are actually able to get the code. So set interval, which is this one, and then we need to actually specify the brackets. So here we need to use the update clock, which is the callback, and then we need to pass here 1000. So after every 1 second this function will be called. Now you can see it's finally working, and our timer of this second is actually act like a timer application, means it's actually updating after every 1 second. Okay, so that marks the completion of the code for this particular time and date widget. So now the one thing is left is actually in this final second version of the code. If you see in the final version, there is no colon. So I once copied the code, means once I duplicate the code, we actually don't want to this colon in the second one. So we need to just simply remove this part. In the second part, it doesn't require, because once I duplicate it 2 more times, this particular code is also gets duplicated. Now you can see it's actually look perfect. So our time and date widget application is now completed successfully. So that's it for this particular module. If you like this module, then please leave a review, because your review definitely helps me to reach more students and also helps me to create more awesome courses. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next lecture. Thank you very much.